Let's go over the physical hardware for the Nutanix NX series. The NX 1000 series is a 2U 4-node system. If we take a look at the front of the Nutanix 1000 series, we see that it has fixed drive slots for each individual node. The drives cannot be shared across different nodes. We also have the control panels for each node located in the front of the system. Please take note that node A starts at the bottom left-hand corner, while node B is at the top left-hand corner. Node C is at the bottom right-hand corner, and node D is at the top right-hand corner. If we take a look at the back of the system, we see that the physical nodes themselves actually also correspond to the same configuration as well too. Looking at the back of the system, node A is the bottom right-hand corner, node B is the top right-hand corner, node C is the bottom left-hand corner, and node D is the top left-hand corner. If we take a look at each individual node, we see that they all have the same amount of ports. The ports that are important, the IPMI port is on the bottom left-hand corner. The two ports on the right are the two 1 gigabit Ethernet ports. The first gigabit Ethernet port, the one in the middle there that you see, is the shared IPMI port. We can actually go ahead and have the IPMI fail over to that first gigabit Ethernet port if there's nothing plugged into the IPMI port. Over on the very right-hand side of the system, we'll see the two 1 gigabit Ethernet ports on the right as well too. The NX 1000 can also be configured as 10 gigabit Ethernet, which would show up on those right-hand ports instead. The 3000 series are very similar to the 1000 series, where we have fixed drives at the front and the control panels for the nodes, with the node A starting at the bottom left-hand corner. On the rear of the system, we have the same physical layout with node A starting at the bottom right-hand corner. On each individual node, we have the IPMI port at the bottom left-hand corner with that shared IPMI port for that first gigabit port in the middle there. And over on the right-hand side of the system, we have two 10 gigabit Ethernet ports. The rear of a SX1065, NX1065, or NX3060 nodes are a little bit different. Here we can see that the 1 gigabit IPMI port, which is in the upper left-hand corner and is actually upside down compared to the rest of the Ethernet ports. The 1 gigabit ports are actually just to the right of the IPMI port, with the shared IPMI port on the bottom of those two ports. The two 10 gig Ethernet ports are to the right, and are just to the right, which is on the upper part of the middle of the node as well. Over on the 3155, we have slightly different configuration on the front. Again, all the hard drives are fixed in slots with just a single node here, so we have a single control panel on the front. On the rear of the system, we see that the four 1 gigabit Ethernet ports in the middle of the system near the bottom, along with that shared IPMI port at the bottom left-hand corner of that 1 gig Ethernet port cluster. The dedicated IPMI port is just to the right of that, while the 10 gig ports are to the very right, bottom right-hand corner of the system itself. We also have 3 GPU slots located near the top of the system that we put the GPU 3D VDI cards in. The 3175 series is a 1-node, 1U unit. Here we actually have the two 10 gig ports on the middle section here on the left-hand side, with the first port is on the left is the shared IPMI port. We have the dedicated IPMI port in the middle, and we have the optional ability to add additional 10 gig Ethernet NIC cards over on the slot to the very right as well too. The 6000 series is also very similar in the front, where we have fixed drives for each individual node as well too. The 7000 series, again, is a 1-node, 2U system where we have fixed drives in the front. Over on the rear on the system, we have the dedicated IPMI port here in the middle, right above the USB slots, along with the two 1 gig Ethernet ports just to the right of that, with the left port as the shared IPMI port. Additional 10 gig Ethernet ports are just above that, near the top middle of the node. The 8000 series have a lot of hard drives in the front. Depending on which model, we have a single node on a 2U system or a 2U 2-node system, with a node A on the left-hand side and node B on the right-hand side. If we take a look at the back of the system, the 8150 series has two 10 gig Ethernet ports in the middle, with the left 10 gig as the shared IPMI port. On the 8235 series, we have a dedicated IPMI port at the very left of the node, as well as the two 1 gig ports just to the right of that. The bottom of those ports is the shared IPMI port. The 10 gig ports are on the right of the node. On the 9000 series, again, we have fixed drive slots up in the front. The 9060 model, again, is a 2U 4-node system with node A at the bottom left-hand corner. When configuring the memory configuration on the Nutanix nodes, we recommend that the memory configuration is balanced. You want the same number of DIMMs across both banks, as well as the same memory capacity on both banks. An unbalanced configuration will cause performance degradation across the nodes.